Alrighty, thank you everyone for joining, and we also appreciate everyone that's going to watch the replay. Tonight we are going to be talking about the importance of events. So we're going to start talking about convention, how important destination events are, as well as making sure that we host our own events and support upline events if we have that blessing and opportunity with our team. So Anthony and Dana are going to share their amazing story with us, as well as another team member that's going to hop on a little bit later. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to them.
Welcome, guys. Glad everybody is here. So I am excited about this subject matter. And it's funny that I'm excited about it because I actually am terrified of large groups of people, right? So it's just funny that I would be the one to be like, everybody should go to a place with lots of people. So I have a few notes actually from the chapter as well as with what I wanted to talk about our story. And so the story will come in as I go through my notes. So I wanted to start off with saying one thing that's really, really stuck out with me that Eric Worre said is that getting people to events, large events, is going to be the highest paying skill there is. And when he said that, it really
we lost your sound, Dave.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
Yay.
It's like those old Verizon
I don't know why it's actually been doing that all day. Sorry, guys. I will try to stay on track. So hopefully the last thing I said was Eric Worre was saying that the getting people to conventions is the highest paying skill that there is. And this is super powerful because one statistic that he said, for every person that you get to your large event like convention, it's about $1,000 back the following year in your income. So from his perspective, getting people there, whether it's people that are doing the business or people just wanting education, it's very powerful to get them in the arena with other like-minded people, to get them in the arena with other people that are at their level doing what they're doing, and having the resources and education. To me, I can read all day long about Seed to Seal, but it was so much more powerful when I got to see the process for myself and actually touch lavender that I have a bottle of and experience everything that we teach about and talk about. Because the reality is that is what sets Young Living apart. And so when you get to experience those things and you get to experience the heart, it's really going to draw you closer to the mission and what.
There you go. This is first in like 3 minutes.
Did you?
There we go. Keep going.
Okay, so the other thing that he had mentioned, and this is where we'll get into our story of how we got to our first convention, is destination events are the most powerful. If it isn't hard, if it is hard, it is better. So if you had to overcome some things in order to get yourself there, it's going to be that more impactful for your journey with the company. And so I will let Anthony go ahead and start with our story and how we got to our first convention.
Okay. So first of all, I want to start by saying our first trip to convention was so impactful because it came at a point where, for me, at least for me personally, like I was not interested in Young Living at all. We had been in multi-level marketing before. I didn't care anything about oils. I didn't want to hear about it. And so the funny thing about it was, I think, was it 2 weeks before?
So I had purchased a convention ticket probably the month or two before convention actually was occurring.
Okay.
But I had no idea how we were going to get there. And I had purchased two because, so remember again, I said I am terrified of people. I am terrified to travel by myself. Like, so if I went, like, he would have to go. Like, there was no way that I was going to fly all the way to Salt Lake City without him.
So then I'll add to that. I didn't know that she had the tickets, nor did I know that we had any intentions of going to Salt Lake City. So for us, it was a matter of getting these things together like last minute. I remember we went back and forth over going to Salt Lake City because I had never been. And actually, neither of us had ever been, nor did it seem appealing for me. And me being the husband that I am, I'm like, I'm not going to let you go to Salt Lake City by yourself, especially for 4 or 5 days. And you don't have a flight, you don't have a hotel arrangements or anything like that. So the way that it actually ended up working out was I eventually caved because I still wanted to support my wife. And we bought our tickets, our flights.
Well, let's back up a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when we were contemplating on going, like, we prayed on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to get, how much were the plane tickets?
They ended up being like $600 a ticket.
Okay, because it was so close to the trip. I had no idea how we were going to get that money. We literally did not have the money to purchase it. And I remember I opened a slip. I had worked at Costco years before this, okay? Like years before this. And I had my Costco membership that was connected to an American Express card at the time. But for whatever reason, when I left Costco, they never took away my credit card that was attached to my membership, even though I had not paid the membership like anymore since then. And so for whatever reason, right around the time that we were supposed to go to convention, Costco was switching from American Express to Visa or something like that. And so, I mean, I think it's God sent, but you know, whatever, they sent me a brand new Visa card because they were like, were you with us with American Express? So here's this brand new Visa card. So I was like, babe, they might find out that I don't have a Costco membership. I don't know if there's any money on it. I don't know how much, like, so I literally was like, I will call and I will see what the limit is on it. Mm-hmm. And if it's enough to get a plane ticket, then we'll book it, right? So I remember calling, and so he said it was $600 a piece. I want to say like the limit was what? Like $2,500 or something like that. So it was like, we literally had exactly what we needed to get that plane ticket. And mind you, once we got on that plane, we had no clue where we were staying. We literally, like, in the airport getting to Salt Lake City, we're calling around like, we need to find a place to stay. Like,
we booked our hotel rooms, I think after we got off the flight.
Yeah.
And we actually found a hotel that was like 20 minutes outside of downtown Salt Lake City. We were able to take the train back and forth. And it's interesting, like Dana remembers all the small details that were the hardships getting us there. I think for me, what was so impactful, like the event was so impactful for me that I forgot all of that. And just to go back, because Dana and I were talking earlier today, and sometimes we have, and pause me if I'm getting too far, mm-hmm. but sometimes we have this thought process that big events like convention are just for business builders. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind, when we're talking about going to convention, it's not only can we not afford it, but I'm not interested in building a Young Living business. I'm not interested in the product. And so I think it was so interesting that we had those trials that we went through and then still had the tenacity to be able to make it work, because that year was the year that I met Scott Schuler. And Scott Schuler has become a good buddy of mine. And it was my aha moment. Yeah. That I think coincidentally we were talking about the convention where Gary was flying through the air and Power Giants was released. That was actually our first convention. Yeah. And so that was a huge push for me in seeing that, okay, it's more than let's get lots of money and everybody get rich. And then as I'm learning more about the products and how oils work, because they have the breakout sessions and the classes that you can take to get education. Like, I started to see myself being a part of Young Living. There we go. I started to see myself becoming a part of Young Living, and that was huge for me. So then by the time I met Scott at convention, Scott kind of sealed the deal in as few of words as possible. Like, when I talked to Scott, and I'm like, so, because anyone who's ever seen him, like, Scott looks like he could be in Sons of Anarchy, crossed with the Brawny Man. One of the most hardcore looking guys you could see. And he told me it didn't matter. It didn't matter what other people thought about oils. It didn't matter what you thought about MLM. He was like, either way it works. Either way it works, and kept it as simple as that. And thinking back, when we talk about why those events are so important, I would have never had that experience had we not went.
Yeah.
And so to this day, like, I still thank my wife for forcing us to go, because who knows if we'd still be a part of Young Living now.
Yeah.
You know, and when we look at the changes and the effects that it's had on both of our lives, we're glad we went.
Yeah. And it was so impactful that, like, again, even because I was senior star at the time, like, and again, even if the business wasn't really on my mind at that point, the experience was like, I need to come here every single year. Like, this has to be a vacation that I experience every single year. So we're about to share. So this is a picture of us at our first convention.
Yes. So look at those happy people. But this was our first convention. We both went Dana was a senior star. I complained about the pink lanyard the whole time.
Yeah, he switched his lanyard at some point and refused to wear the pink one.
But I think it's interesting, because I think by the time we went, like, that, it was just the two of us.
Yeah.
And getting to see, like, Young Living, it was like a global thing. It wasn't just this rinky-dink company within the United States. Like, that was impactful.
Yeah.
So I think that was almost 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm gonna see. Give me a moment. I'm gonna see if I can find the current picture from this last year's convention.
While he's doing that, I'm gonna start in on some of the bullet points that I had for this evening. I think there's a total of 8 that I have, but I wanted to start with the number one and most important thing to do when it comes each year is to make the decision to be committed to attending these large gatherings. So once you make the decision and make that a part of, like, what is normal within your culture, within your organization, within your family, then it's, because it's so natural to you, it's going to be natural to them as well. You want to share that?
Yes. So I'm going to take a moment just to share this picture here, because it really speaks volumes to what Dana's talking about. So this was, let me give it a moment to pop up. So this was this year's convention. And we didn't have a massive team that went with us, but we had 3 of our members on our team. We both had accounts. I think I had just hit senior star not too long around that time. And we were able to take our kids with us this year. The previous years, it was such a struggle to get there that we weren't able to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think that's huge to fast forward and just see how much, like, Young Living has changed our lives, but also, like, having the right frame of mind to realize that these events are so important to bring people. Like, the people picture here, they've become like our, like, extended family. Like, we got to know them extremely well on the trip, and then we still keep in contact even now, you know, during this this lock-in, so to speak. So I think that's huge. Like, I just wanted to share that.
And again, to go back to whether people build a business or don't build a business, what I do know about those people that went with us is their conviction for Young Living and Young Living's products is like no other. Like, I don't even have to, like, they will defend their oils and their products because they got to experience the lavender farms, because they got to be a part of the community and the family that Young Living is worldwide. So number two, after you, number one, make the decision, stretch your goals to an uncomfortable level of attendance for your team. So decide how many people are you going to bring with you when you go to that big convention. And I love Eric Worre because he's like, so take that number. I want you to double it. Then I want you to double that number and then double it one more time. And that is your number for what you should bring next time you come to convention. And he did give like some little things that you can think about doing, like maybe purchasing some tickets for your team and then doing incentives that are going to cover the cost of that, the tickets that you give and then give out to your team. Or you can buy tickets and sell them to your team, but just give them some ways to make it easier for them to kind of get there. Which brings us to number three, which was map out with your team and your members how to make it happen. So I liked some of the things, like it could be just something simple as, hey, this is when we're getting our ticket. This is when we're going to book our Airbnb. This is when we're going to get our flights, and let's do it together. So that way it's not like this big thing all at once, but they know, okay, maybe every 3 months, you know, we're going to do something to get ourselves closer to getting there.
Yeah. And to add, people are more likely to do things when they feel like there's camaraderie and partnership. So if we partner with them from the beginning and we're talking about going to convention and we're making plans, we're normalizing it and saying like, hey, we're going to figure out how to get you to convention, people are going to be more likely to show up. Mm-hmm. Even the smaller, large events we do, there's a reason why they suggest like, hey, pick up members of your team. Like if we're having a rally, pick them up and bring them to the event, or pick them up and take them to the class, because people like the camaraderie and the partnership. Mm-hmm. And sometimes whatever their hangups are or their fears, they need somebody to walk them through that and hold their hand along the way. So by doing that, like whether it's a smaller event, like bringing them to a class when we can meet in person again, or taking them to a rally, or getting to convention, like we partner with them along the way to get them there.
Mm-hmm. And then to add to that, so he, you know, talks a lot about posers, amateurs, and professionals in the network marketing. And so he said posers will just announce that, hey, we have a convention. It's this is the date, and that's it. An amateur will actually invite, but they announce it, they invite, and then that's it. Whereas a professional continues to promote it. So again, when people first get started, they know about the convention. When they come to meetings, they know about your convention. Like it's something that they're constantly talking about. Number 4 on the list was be a problem solver for your team. So even before they come up with the objections, help them solve it. So if it's money, well, how can we help you get the finances? Maybe it's building your business a little bit stronger, or it might be, let's have a garage sale, or it might be, you know, whatever, in order to get that obstacle out of the way. If it's a babysitter, maybe give them solutions or options to being able to work past that and be able to overcome those particular obstacles. Lodging, if it's a spouse, sit down with their spouse. That might be an objection, the 3 of you guys, and like, I want you on this, you know, ride with us. And I wouldn't be a friend if I didn't bring you along this journey with me. And so making sure to kind of overcome some of the things that might be obstacles.
Yeah. And I just want to illustrate that just a little bit, because when you think about it, sometimes people, especially when they're getting started, because maybe in their mind they're not fully committed, they will give you every excuse in the world on why they can't make an event. When we're solution oriented, is instead of focusing on the problem.
Sorry.
There's an oil for that, I'm sure. When you're solution oriented instead of focusing on the problem, then it allows you to work with them to get past that mental block. So if it's finances and someone says, I can't afford a ticket and a plane ticket and a place to stay, like getting an Airbnb as a team is a great alternative, because now I just saved you money. And working with them to maybe sit down and say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost to go to this event. let's see what, like Dana mentioned, let's see what we can sell, or let's see if we can help you refer some individuals to get started. Let's see how we can help you come up with that money. Once again, partnering with them to help them have that mindset to push past those mental blocks, because everybody can get to convention. Everybody can do it.
Mm-hmm. And then number 5 was set expectations. So we kind of talked about this one, but normalize getting people to convention. Just make it normal. Like, this isn't something extra. I'm drinking kombucha, but but I think I put tangerine and I put too much in there. Number 6 was repetition. So I like this one a lot too, because he was like, if your team isn't complaining about how much you talk about convention and complaining that, oh my goodness, every time like we have a meeting, she's always like convention, then you're not talking about convention enough. Like, he was like, it should be like the repetition of that should be so much that they're like, yeah. Anthony and Dana, their first convention, they couldn't afford to go and they made it happen. Like, they should be able to repeat it because they're like, we're so used to them talking about this over and over and over again. So I like that one. And he was like, every call that you do, at some point you should mention it. On social media, you should be mentioning it. Like, everything, like, keep repeating the importance of getting to large events and conventions.
Yeah. And with our current circumstances, I mean, something to think about too is we were talking about how, because the convention was canceled in person, like encouraging our team members still to get digital tickets. Because even though we're not able to meet in person, the information that you gain from those events is so valuable. Like, me personally, I am a researcher, so I enjoy learning new things, but convention gives something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling that even with the digital ticket, there's going to be something even for those who are blues too, like the other half of myself. Like, there's going to be something for everybody.
Yeah.
So are we talking about that now, being that that's only less than a little over a month and a half away, so that we can get as many people involved? Maybe if we're able to meet again, can we get together and have like a watch party? It's still a big event, that we want to encourage people to attend.
So that leads us to number 7. So number 7 is the verbal promotion. Why should people attend? What are they going to get when they attend? Set out all of the reasons. Maybe it's simply to have an amazing adventure and vacation. Maybe it's for the people, the products, whatever that is. Again, get in a rhythm of having a verbal promotion for your large events, for convention, for the get-togethers. And then 8, the last one is recognition. So if somebody buys their ticket, recognize them. Like, explode that on the team. Let everybody know, like, this is awesome. Look, they're doing this. Like, give them recognition for it. Brag people up, hype them up. I like too, he said something about inclusion and exclusion. And he was like, with inclusion, you want to include them every time they're doing things to make themselves better, as well as their business grow and all of those things. And as a result, what's going to happen is other people will naturally exclude themselves because they're not doing those things, right? So it's not us excluding them. They're going to exclude themselves because they're not being a part of the culture and what is normal for everybody else doing. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's okay. Sometimes we feel like everybody needs to do it because we tell them to. But like Dana mentioned, we want to at least give them the opportunity. But if they don't want to, we're not going to, twist their arm and force them. If they choose not to be a part, we're still building a community and a culture, and large events do that. Mm-hmm. So you get with it or you don't, right? But we still want to afford them that opportunity and be excited when someone decides to join or come along. Like Dana mentioned, you bought your ticket, like, cheerlead that. Yeah. Like, get them encouraged, get them excited about it, because excitement is contagious, and you set that pattern and it's duplicable throughout your team.
So this one was kind of a hard one for me to like swallow, but I'm going to say it exactly how Eric Worre said it. But my yellow is like, oh, that seems so harsh. But like, so he said, you cannot afford to spend time on people that are not willing to come to the company convention. He said, they're wasting your time, your money, and you need to quickly go find new leaders. So with that, and I will say though, that did make me think, right? So it's not to say that we don't love on everybody, right? But if people aren't willing to invest in themselves, they're not willing to invest in the company. His point was they're not going to stay, they're probably not going to stay around, right? Mm-hmm. So this is going to be the most powerful thing that you can do for your team, for your people, and everybody, really.
Yeah. So if you think back to that picture that we showed from convention this past year, we invited our whole team. 3 made the decision to come. But look how much they gained and we gained from it. So it still might be a small percentage, but every person that you help to be able to do so, to attend an event like that, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
And it still has an impact.
And I will say, so that was our 4th convention. And so our first convention, we went by ourselves. Our second convention, we brought 1 member with us. Our 3rd convention, we had nobody. And I remember being at that 3rd one being like, I will not come back here with just the 2 of us again. Like, granted, I still enjoyed it. It was an amazing trip or everything. But my heart was like, I can't believe I came back with less people than I did the year before. And so it was like, my goal was like, no, next year I'm going to have people with me. And like, we're going to create that culture within our team. So that's all I had and all my points. So I know, Tashina, you had.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate a couple of things. So I am allergic to everything outside. I hate the outside because of that. And so the first year I went to convention, I did not go to the farm. And then the second year I went to the farm, and I would just have to agree, going to a farm, and I know there's individuals that maybe they have a good reason they can't go to convention because they're in another country, but maybe they can go to the home office and the farm where they are. That changes everything, right? Like, you get the attitude after you go to farm, can't nobody tell me nothing. Like, when somebody comes to you and they're like, well, how do I explain the difference between doTERRA and this? Or how do I explain like, once you're at the farm, literally, no one can tell you anything. You're just like, okay, go get those low quality oils. And then the other thing is, a lot of what you get from convention is the conversations. You know, Kathy and I got to bond at the last convention. You get to see these people who you feel like are your heroes and are the Instagram rock stars, and they're like normal people. Like, no one has ever denied me the picture when I saw Hannah Cruz or when I saw whoever was the famous Instagram star of the day for Young Living. And even with, like, I saw somebody once post that, well, is convention really worth it? Because I've seen people go to convention and not rank up. I have always gotten what I needed from convention, no matter what, okay? If I am in my bamboo period and I'm growing underneath the ground right now, even still, when I go to convention, I feel like I get what I need and my cup is full and I can pour into other people. So, and again, if you're from Canada and you're only going to go to the Canadian convention, or if you're in another country, we're talking about whatever your convention, whatever your thing is that you can get to every year, getting to a rally that maybe is super far for you, that would be the same equivalent of getting to convention. As well as, again, if you have local rallies when we're able to congregate, make sure you go to those local rallies. If you're blessed with a diamond in your area that does 2 trainings per year, get to that. Those things are going to fill your cup because you're around like-minded people. one of the things that we got to do at this last convention was the first ever African American Empowerment Luncheon. And just the feeling from that, and for people to come up to me and be like, I don't feel crazy. I felt like I was the only one. Like, there's other people like me. There's people winning. There's, you know, for them to be around the brand ambassadors and the Royal Crown Diamonds and the Diamonds and Above and see, like, I can do this. There are lots of people like me that can do this. And I get to go to the Latin American luncheon every time. So the things that you get from convention, you cannot get anywhere else. And again, I'm sure with it being digital, they're still going to have the breakout sessions and the discussions and everything they can do to give you that same experience that they can. So with that, I also did want to let Melissa tell a little bit of her story, because she had an interesting time getting to her first convention as well as to Diamond Bound, and I wanted for her to share a little bit with you guys as well.
Hey there, can you hear me? All right. So Tashina asked me to come on and just talk about my first experience at convention. I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada, so I haven't, when Tashina was talking about the Canadian conventions, I haven't been to a Young Living Canadian convention yet. And that is pretty exciting to me. I went to my first convention in Utah. I think, Tashina, it was 2 years ago now. And I had started with Young Living a year before that. And I really liked the oils. I was learning all about them and the products. And then I decided a new convention was coming up and everybody was really excited about it. And I thought, well, I should probably go to convention. I need to prove this to myself. I need to be sure that this is, you know, the real deal. And if I'm going to use the products and I'm going to represent the company, then I need to know for sure that this is legit. So, you know, and of course the farm was the biggest attraction for me. I'm yellow, so I like to be outside in nature, learning things. I love to garden. I love to plant. So that was kind of my wheelhouse there. So I was so unsure about going money-wise, and I had the time off, but I was kind of hemming and hawing, and it was a week before convention. I decided to jump and get my ticket. Ticket was expensive. Coming from Nova Scotia, it was about $1,300 Canadian. So it was expensive, but I knew that if I wanted to go, wanted to learn, needed to meet my team, because for me, my team was all in the States. So I said, okay, I don't know where I'm going to stay. I'm going to go. I got my ticket. Let's do it. And I was able to find a place to stay, and I got to bunk with Tashina, so that was wonderful. And so my 3 oils at that time, frankincense was my thing. I went everywhere with frankincense. I knew that every time I travel, I got sick, so I had to have my thieves on me. So I had my hand sanitizer, I had my thieves for my feet, and my Valor. Those are my 3 go-tos. And so I never flew before on my own, never traveled that far on my own. I'm going from East Coast all the way over to the West Coast by myself. And I was shaking in my boots. And, you know, I do get anxious. I'm a more nervous kind of person, but I thought, no, I got to do this. So I just kind of put my fears aside. I valored up, put my frankincense on to give me my grounding, and made sure I had my thieves on and my scarf with thieves as well. So nonstop, I put all those oils on nonstop. Every time I went to the airport, went into the bathroom, thieves my feet. And I never got sick while I was down there or afterwards when I came home, which was amazing to me. It took 3 plane rides, so 13 hours total in flight each way to get to Utah. And going through airports, not knowing where I'm going, praying that I'm not going to miss my flights. It was something, but I got there. And for me, the main thing about convention was meeting everybody. The knowledge from all the different courses, seeing all the people, having the hands-on experience in the farm, going to the farm was just unbelievable. And, being there with the lavender fields and seeing the distillation process and just experiencing everything was just amazing. So for me, convention is just one of those things you have to go. And like Dana was saying, once you go, you're sold. Like, amazing, just amazing, and mind blown, and meeting people and just the camaraderie of it all really makes Young Living stand out. And you just get the whole picture when you go. So it's so important to go to convention. I wasn't able to go last year because of conflicting commitments, but I was really hoping to go this year, but we will do it digitally and see how that goes. I'm excited anyway, just to go. And hopefully, I think this year too, Canadian conventions every second year. So I think, it should be in the fall, but with everything going on, I don't know, probably not going to happen. But you know what, like, to me, if I can get to the US convention, hey, right? Like, the Canadian convention, that's great to get to, but the US in Utah is where everything happens, right? So you want to get there and, get everything figured out for yourself. But yeah, I would 100% recommend it. It's the way to go.
Awesome, Melissa. I love your story. Thank
Hey,
you.
Carrie.
Carrie, did you want to share about your experience first time getting to the farm?
Yeah, sure. I guess it was kind of similar. 12-hour through the night bus ride each way ahead. But my husband actually went with me to the farm. We made arrangements, met up with the group, and the tour was great. And my husband loved it. He's got nothing against the oils and seeing the farm. He's like, this is great. And just, yeah, meeting some of the friends there. And I'd only seen them on Instagram before. But really being there where they were distilling the Palo Santo that day, and we got to have the ylang-ylang in our hand. And yeah, you can't beat getting there to see distill. My favorite is the worm farm. And the worm farm, especially. I hired a guy like 8 years ago who was a specialist in worm culture. Fascinating, very interesting. Yeah, I could listen to him talk all day, and I was so glad he was the one giving the tour. So much information. There was maybe 30 of us that were on that tour group that day, which is kind of a lot, but everybody moved through and over lunch got my first Itobi there. And they got to see the spa and clinic. I had only heard of it before. And so that, yeah, just all the part, big part of it. But being there at the farm, pretty amazing. So yeah, I know I'll do it again. I've done 3 trips to Guayaquil for different events. And yeah, and just this past Saturday, I did the rally here online. It was virtual. So it was like, yay, I didn't have to do the 12-hour bus trip this time. But yeah, it brings everybody together. And I won something. Gabby Sanchez was on, and I got it. I answered the question thanks to Sheena, going to what do they grow in Split, Croatia? Like, but yeah, I knew that one. But just knowing more of the plants, being on the land, and yeah, the camaraderie, it was a really big deal. And I do want to get my team going, and I've already talked to some of my team about doing the virtual, which of course will be only in English, as far as I'm aware, for the live Young Living convention this year. So. But I've already had a couple people say, yeah, I could do that, because I can't go to Utah, but I could do $75. So we'll see how many on my team I can get there.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely, be in touch with all of the leaders and see who's translating what, because hopefully they'll have some translation, and then like I said, I really do think that they'll have a breakout session for the Canadians. They'll have a breakout session for Latin America. They'll have a breakout session for different stuff because that's what they usually do, right? So that'll be good. But yeah, so I've been to the farm in Split, Croatia as well. I went for a religious event out to Europe, and I was supposed to visit a friend, but then she was going to be here in the States, in Sweden. And I was like, well, I have to go to another country. I'm in Europe. I've never been to Europe. What should I do? And I was like, I'm going to go to a farm. So which one should I go to? And I'm like, well, I'm going to get to all the sexy countries like France and Italy and Spain. Where would I never go? Croatia and Bulgaria. So I emailed Young Living Europe, and they were like, Croatia would be better at that time. And it was such an amazing experience. And Croatia is beautiful and amazing. It is Slavic with Mediterranean influence. Like literally my new summer home is moving from Italy to Croatia. It was so beautiful and clean and clear in Split, Croatia. It was amazing. And just once again, being with the person who, like, that person grew up on the farm. Like, that is his passion. And Young Living came there and said, hey, can we partner with you? You know, like, it's sustainable. It's small and it's only a couple things, but it's just like every visit just gives you so much more confidence in the company that it's unbelievable. So we got about 15 more minutes if anybody else wants to share their experience either about the farmer convention.
Hi guys, I'm a little distracted tonight because I've got to run somewhere else. But anyway, I've gone to conventions since 2014, everyone in the US. So one was in Dallas, Texas, and the others have all been in Utah. And my first one was all, everything's bright and shiny and new and, it's just all magical. And the second one was down in Texas, so it was completely different from the experience in Utah. Very great. It was at a Gaylord and never had been to a hotel resort like that. So, kind of all in awe again. And the schedule was kind of flipped and different. So each year, I would say the conventions have improved on, like, they take one and they take the good stuff and they make it better. So every year that I've gone, I would say they have upped the ante and it's even better than the last one. Yeah, so I had one team member that went the first 2 years, and then since then I haven't had any of my team members go. So like Dana, you get really disappointed being there going, my team could benefit from this so well if they just would open up and see the value of it, which is, on me for not showing them the value of it. But I just kept thinking, what is holding them back? What is holding them back? And last year, just from convention, I just talked a lot about convention going, and I shared more while I was there. A lot of times I didn't share while I was there because I don't like to put out on Facebook when I'm gone. I have kids at home, So last year I shared within our group more. And I just shared the things we're doing. And Tashina, I don't remember, Dana and Anthony, maybe you can tell me too. We did a live video in the expo.
Yes,
and I know
we did.
Dana was there, Tashina was there.
Yep.
Like as many as we could gather from our Healthy Habits Hub. And I think that made an impact on people to see, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know she was there, or I didn't know they were there, or, just seeing the people that came from our group. I think that kind of opened people's eyes. But then Kim, she's on the call now, and Joan, we'd already been talking. They're my leaders. They're my great leaders on my team. They're my stronghold that helped me so much in so many ways. They were already on board and they got their ticket the last day when I was sitting there waiting for my flight, and I'm messaging them that tickets are now open for anybody. If you're interested, get your ticket, because they did sell out the year before, like before we even got back from convention, they sold out. And then they reopened again in a couple months, but at a higher price. So they booked their ticket that day on the last day of convention. And I just think that was one of the best ways to have your team prepared for it. If they can't go this year, like I can't go this year, but I commit to next year, then get your ticket on the last day of convention or when they open it up. to have that prepared, like in their mindset to do that. And I think that was brilliant on their part, because then you're committed and you're going to put more effort into what you're doing because you know that next year I'm going. My visit to the farms, there was one year that I didn't go. I couldn't get the farm ticket on the day that I wanted to go. So I really like to go the Wednesday before everything starts, so that I can go to all the workshops and not feel like I'm missing that part of it. And then there's other people that like to do the farm days, like on Thursday or Friday, because they need that break away from all the crowds and just, you know, that time to get out and explore the farm. The first day on the farm is always sold out. So you're going to spend a lot of your time standing in lines. But I also know after being there, like, I'm going to go here first because there's no line. If you go straight to the distillery, you'll spend about an hour and a half or whatever in line. And it's a great time because you talk to people and you get to know people. This year on the farm was phenomenal. There's something, like Tashina said, when you go to a farm, there's energy there. There's just magic there that you don't get by just walking on another property. The oils, the intention behind everything, it's just amazing. And I met a girl from Spain pretty much as I walked off the bus. She fell, she hurt her knee, and she just started crying. We had probably 20 minutes before we met. And she was going to the Percheron horses, and she had a moment with them where she just really felt connected. Anyway, long story short, I pulled up my Valor, I put it on her knee. The medics came and they made sure she was okay. And then we spent the rest of the day at the farm together. And she had, while we waited in line for the distillery, she had a huge, huge emotional release. Like, I've never seen anybody have that kind of release. And I was explaining to her what was happening. And she was already working through a lot of trauma in her life with a therapist. So she was understanding, like, oh, wow, that makes so much sense. She was understanding it. And by the time we got up to the distillery, where they put the wood chips and things into it, she took this bandage off that the medics had given her, and the swelling was gone and there was no bruising, and the thing was huge. And so part of that emotional release happened where it actually allowed that injury to go away, which was phenomenal for me and everybody around us. We were just like, that is incredible, because I saw it before they put the bandage on, and that thing wouldn't have been going away for a week probably. But anyway, magical things happen at the farm, and so I strongly encourage people to go there. But aside from that, the rest of the week, just the people you meet and the friendships you make, they're lifelong. You connect back the next year. It's really amazing. I'm done.
So Kathy, you are an example of the Young Living community. I'm just going to say that. You sharing that story reminds me of exactly why I always tell people to go, because when I'm in line and someone, you know, comes alongside you like that, like I had one of my team members go for the first time, and she's like, someone wanted to give me their oil and put it on me. And I'm like, yes, this is Young Living. Like, this is the culture. And so anyways, my background story, I've been with Young Living for a long time. And I started when I had 3 kids that were all under 3. So I had twins and I was nursing them. And I can remember learning about I kept hearing about the farm. And I said, I'm going someday. You know, it took me about 3 years to get my head out of the sand after with my young kids. And so I went in 2003 for the first time. And once I went, I said, I'd be silly not to do this for a business. Like, I already knew the products worked, and I was like all in. And I've been pretty much every year. There's a few years I've missed, but I started bringing my daughter when she was 11. And she loved it. And to this day, she's 23 now. And she said, Mom, that's like one of the best things you ever did for me, was bring me to convention, because it's not just the products in the business. It's also, they pour into you as a human being. So we went through some really tough times the last several years. We had some complicated health issues going on, and we'd go to convention because it was a place where we were poured into, we could personally grow. And I found that the themes of convention were very, very meaningful. They have a theme and they have an oil. And for it just seems like convention starts out with it's very positive, and the people there are great, but then as the days go on, it just builds and builds and builds and builds. So at the end, you're thinking it just gets like better every day, it seems like. And like Tashina said, I always have gotten what I need from convention. But I want to mention too that talking with the employees has been really interesting too. Like each year you go, these are Young Living employees that are like manning the lines and things like that. So I've talked to people who work at the distillery, or who work in the lab, or who were on the team to make the Sheer LeMay. So I would ask them questions, you know, and learn things like, well, they trained for 5 years to work in the distillery. So you just learn like just more depth. And so you do come back not questioning what you have for quality, for sure. So that I would just add, we've always made it a priority to go, just because it's worth the trip, and there aren't very many cultures like that, really. One year, when I forget if it was like the year that 35,000 people were there, and my daughter and I, we were like waiting to get on the tracks in Utah, and the whole stop there was filled with a bunch of people, and they were all Young Living. And we just looked around and we're like, where can you ever feel like so safe and so good with all these other people? And everyone's polite, you know, it's like, it's noticed by even people in Salt Lake City that when Young Living comes in, that they're kind people. And it's just so that aspect I really appreciate, in addition to what everybody else just said.
Yeah, I think I want to reiterate that, Rebecca. It was so good to talk to the employees, whether they're out in the farm fields, like these teenagers, and they say, oh, we love it. And they're out there weeding in the hot sun. And to hear that from a teenager or a college student, you know, it's like, well, they really do treat their employees well. And she said, yeah, it's hard work, but we love it. The atmosphere here is like nothing else. And then to hear it from, I talked to the guy that has the Hawaiian farm, Sandalwood Farm. They had a stand out there at the farm, and to hear their take on Young Living as a partnership rather than employee owned was good. And then talking to I think I spent 45 minutes talking to the research and development company, or the product developers in the expo, to get the feel of what the new supplements are. Just every single person you talk to, they're so polite. And I'm always impressed coming in to register with 40,000 people asking the same questions over and over and over. And they never are like, I've answered this question 10,000 times. They're just, they answer it like it's their first time they've asked. And it's just awesome.
Valerie, anything you want to add in the last 5 minutes? All right. Dana, were you guys going to share one last picture?
Oh, it's okay. I just was going to show, it made more sense when you were talking about it, but.
Okay. All right. All right. So that's what we had for today. I know we have some people that want to learn about social media. So I appreciate everybody's flexibility. We will get the replay to those of you that unfortunately this doesn't work exactly perfect for your time, so that you can take notes and rewatch it. Please get back with the upline person that invited you to this call and let them know your feedback and any topics that you would want to come. And we'll try to make sure that we get a new schedule out within the next 2 or 3 days based on what everyone feels like they need a deep dive on. All right. Thank you guys.
Dana,
have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.